Welcome to Empath Revolution, where sensitive souls are gathering to activate their cosmic mission and embrace their role in helping humanity ascend to the next level of consciousness. I'm your host, Stephanie Redfeather, author of the award-winning international best-selling book, The Evolutionary Empath, and Empath Activation Cards. In this interview, my special guest is Michael R. Smith. For nearly 20 years, Dr. Michael R. Smith's work to connect individuals with their divine potential has helped millions of empaths and sensitive souls. As a doctoral trained counselor, spiritual medium, and practitioner of indigenous healing arts, Michael's great joy is to serve as a spiritual guide for those at all levels of awakening. In addition to his annual spiritual retreats, he offers intuition development classes, lightworker business mentoring, and the Empath Sanctuary community. He lives in the forest near San Francisco, where he enjoys hot yoga and talking to the trees. And today he is going to talk to us about anchoring your soul as divine protection for empaths. Michael, welcome.
So good to be here, and welcome to all of those who are watching and listening.
Yeah. So there's a lot of different ways to interpret the idea of protecting ourselves, creating grounding, creating centering, creating a bubble, so many different synonyms. But I know that you have a very particular way that you like to do it rather than considering like a shielding or a bubbling meditation. How do you really feel like as empaths we need to protect our energy?
Well, we protect our energy by calling on the light, and that's what I mean by anchoring our soul. In this day and age, we are moving from focus on threats as
Mhm.
empaths. Are other people going to hurt me? This is a question that comes up a lot because it's kind of lodged in our unconscious mind where the fears are stored. Uh, so we're moving from an era where we as empaths feel burdened by other people, feeling like we must do shielding and bubble meditations in order to feel at home. And we're recognizing in this day and age, in this consciousness, that that's not necessary anymore because when we move over to the other side, the other polarity, and a focus on the light, we're recognizing that our own soul is the protection that we've been asking for.
Mm.
And so that's what we mean by anchoring your soul uh, every day, checking in with our soul multiple times a day so that we can uh, anchor the light, enlarge in our energy field, enlarge in our perspective, maybe on of our consciousness. And when we do, we move from the 3D world into what we call the 5D or fifth dimensional spirit world. And it will radically change your existence. And I know that many of you that are watching this interview are in the process of awakening into that reality right now. In this interview, the intention of it is to help facilitate the movement so that it is smoother and easier for you. I've
Yeah.
got my heater on and I'm sitting here wondering, why are you burning up, Michael? I've got my heater on, my face is completely red, like it's awareness.
Well, I appreciate what you're saying, and I have a kind of a visualization that I've used before that kind of I think reflects this shift from there being a threat, right, that we have to defend to going in the other direction. And I've sort of used the analogy of air pressure in a building, right? If you've ever walked into a building where you open the door and the door just sort of flies open, that's
Yeah.
that's positive air pressure because the air in the building is moving out versus if it's negative air pressure, you have to like really pull hard to get the door open because the air flow is moving inward. with the idea of positive air pressure, I think about that in terms of the light, right? Or like exuding Christ consciousness, exuding the light.
Yes.
It becomes like, just think of it as like positive air pressure, and it sort of negates the need, if you will, for a boundary in the same way as we thought about it in the past.
Yeah. We don't need to be worried. The only boundaries that we need to be worried about is in relationship to the question, where am I choosing to leak my energy?
Mhm.
And it is we as empaths have a tendency, a default, really, because we are programmed in our own souls to help. We're here to help facilitate um, others into their own awakening. And in because we are programmed in our divine blueprint, um, in our soul, to say yes, I raise my hand, I'm here on earth to help. We do too much. And so we leak energy by saying yes too much to other people's demands on our time, on our energy, on our very presence, our very light. And so that's really the only boundaries that we need to concern ourselves with. And we're learning how to do that now. And when we do, the air pressure moves very freely, and we can exist in a state of flow. And we don't feel like, oh gosh, we're not even concerned about other people draining our energy. Like, I cannot literally remember the last time that I had even had that thought, because we are becoming so connected to our souls now that we're learning to live in the moment.
Mhm.
Uh, and it's a completely different vibration. It's the 5D vibration, and that is what is our protection
Mhm.
um, from feeling exhausted, tired, overwhelmed, and
Yeah.
drained. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I think that's just part of the sort of evolutionary process as empaths in human form. I think just because of where we have been in human consciousness, pretty much all of us have the unfolding, right? The linear progression of, in the beginning of our lives, we feel powerless, we feel traumatized, we feel like a victim, we feel helpless. And at some point, we recognize we're an empath. We start doing our inner work, we heal, we gain the tools. And what I hear in what you're saying is being able to connect to our soul, to call in the light, comes from a place of really knowing your divinity and claiming and owning your power.
Knowing is the key word. Knowing our divinity. How do we know our divinity? It certainly is not going to be by looking at social media or Instagram for 2 hours a day, or Facebook. If we, or, cheating on our diets with sugar, or, vices, that is not going to help us know our divinity. How do we know our divinity? We know our divinity by taking a moment right now. Those of us that are watching, do this along with us, okay? Uh, say hello to your higher self, the 99% of you that exists on the other side. Just say hello. I welcome you. And now imagine a sphere of light, if you will, above your head, which is you, and just breathe it into the channel of your heart, the portal of your heart. And then exhale your egoic consciousness that wants to control this moment. Just let that go bye-bye and give it over to the divine. I am giving this to you, divine. What are we left with? You're left with knowing in this moment yourself as you truly exist. 99% of you exists on the other side. What if only 1% of us were here in body? 1% of our total essence is in body. What if that were true? How would that change your perspective of knowing your divinity.
Mhm.
Um, let's use the analogy of an iceberg. Since you use this analogy of air pressure, let's talk about analogy of iceberg. If you look at an iceberg, most, Titanic iceberg maybe, only a little bit is jutting up above the surface of the water. And the majority of the iceberg is, 95% of it is below the water where you can't see. Same thing with us. Most of our consciousness, who we really are as an essence, as a soul, as a spirit, whatever label you want to use, is in another dimension. Only a little bit of our the totality of who you are, who we are, exists, you know, uh, as we think ourselves are.
Yeah.
So we like to go big picture, and we're learning, all of us as light workers, light holders. Really, that's really what we are. We're light anchors, and we're more and more and more tethering to our soul. So that moment that you just took and that we took together, that is a moment in which your soul, you are calling it in to your present moment experience. It just enlarges your energy field. It made you more connected to the truth. And guess what happens, everybody, when we do that? Better jobs, more satisfaction with your career, new relationships, soul level friendships, more money, health. That little moment is that powerful.
Yeah. And you know what I became aware of too, in that moment, thinking of it that way, is 99% of my essence sort of being in the unseen realms or in the infinite realms or different dimensions, is I just immediately connected to how we're all one, how we're one with nature, how just everything that exists is not in isolation from each other.
Thank God, we're waking up to that fact now. The indigenous have known about this, and we were in an era where we squashed that knowledge, and we're returning to the truth. And the truth is we are all one. So my addiction to sugar would negatively impact you, even though you're not, maybe not consciously aware of it. Now we're waking up to the truth is that we can't cheat anymore. We can't cheat on addictions. Wine is a big one for empaths. Sugar being probably even bigger. Um, Comfort food, this type of a thing, or even the addiction to, social media. If you're not spending as much time with the divine in those little moments throughout the day, you know, I I spend most of my day with spirit. So I can tell you it's really, and I do this for a living. So it might be a little bit easier for me in the structure of my life, the way that the divine and I have orchestrated it, than someone who's working a 9 to 5 job. However, we all, no matter the job or the career, the way that your life is organized with families or children or kids or whatever your responsibilities are, no matter what your life is structured to be, we all have the same moments of choice, where in our moment of downtime, are we going to go for the social media by default? Or are we going to say, hey, divine, I need your help and I want to spend time with you because I want to feel peace. I want to feel joy. I want to feel happy. I want to feel stillness. That's what we're moving into now, is choosing rather than being on default and cheating. We must We must. It is a need that the divine has from each and every one of us. We must, if we are going to heal the planet, save the planet, and move into, as you use this beautiful word with such echoes and reverberation, evolutionary, right? If we are going to move and evolve into our new reality, way of life, we must recognize that the choices that we make either help or hurt that goal towards moving into a new reality. And my choice to brush my teeth 3 times a day or 4 times a day, which I do, Mouth health is something that is not talked about a lot in the empath community. Oral health, the connection between oral health and the pineal gland and the third eye being so close to the mouth. If we're not keeping our mouths clean with essential oils and getting a dental checkup, that what we think, 10 years ago, none of us would have thought that that decision to keep our mouths clean or not would affect somebody else. And we're here to say that it does. And we absolutely cannot really get away or cheat anymore. And if we do try to cheat, it's going to become very apparent to you and to us the negative effects more and more and more as we evolve.
Yeah. You talked about some of the obstacles that get in the way of our communication, with our soul and with the divine, addictions and those
Yep.
sorts of things. What are some other of the obstacles that get in our way?
The ping pong match that goes on, the limiting beliefs, really.
Mm.
So limiting beliefs is something that we're all being asked. And if you're watching this talk, this discussion, this convo, you're likely a person that is going to be doing like shadow work or being committed to releasing the effects of limiting beliefs. We all have things that we have learned, uh, usually early childhood or adolescence, where we were told we were doing something wrong, or you're not worthy enough. This is a commonality among a lot of us. And those beliefs operate in the unconscious mind, not the subconscious. The subconscious is where the light stores data for you to retrieve, like in aha moments and revelations at another time. That's subconscious. Unconscious is where the human fears are stored. And we all have those versions of that. Definitely, probably the biggest obstacle. If you take away the addiction to social media or food or whatever, alcohol, whatever it is, then it's the limiting beliefs, the addiction to thought itself
Mm.
that gets in the way, that ping pong match.
Hmm. Yeah, I feel that one.
Mm.
And
How do you feel it?
um, I'm a product of our culture, that I'm very mentally oriented, intellectually oriented. We can use other synonyms, left brain, sort of unhealthy masculine energies. I was a very creative, intuitive child. I went to a performing arts school, all of these much more sort of feminine empath, sort of right brain traits. Fast forward a few years, and I get a math degree and become an Air Force officer. And I was in the Air
Oh,
Force for 10 years.
ah,
So, something in me, which
yeah.
flipped. And so in my spiritual awakening, it has been about inviting the feminine back in, inviting, you can think of it as the right brain, the softening coming into my heart, trusting, being in the flow. And so,
Mm-hmm,
I really get that over identification with the mental realm.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
Yeah.
And I think those of us that are watching for a reason. You're still engaged for a reason. You're listening to the call of your soul. And just like Stephanie just talked about her journey, you are engaged with Stephanie's work, with my work, with this summit for a reason, because you're listening to your soul call. You are anchoring your soul so that you don't have to suffer. And really, that's what mental thought creates, limiting beliefs create suffering and challenges and obstacles to feeling the way we want, living the life that we want. And we're recognizing that we are like satellite dishes, another metaphor. We're a satellite dish. Satellite dishes both broadcast a signal, which we're constantly doing through our thoughts, and then we're also receiving signals from others. And the quality of your thoughts has everything to do with what you receive back from the universe through law of attraction. There are exceptions to the law of attraction, and we talk about this in my classes that I do, such as the Empath Academy and the Empath Sanctuary community that we have, and some of my intuition development classes. We go deeper into, what are the exceptions to the law of attraction. We talk about things like what is a heyoka, there's a term that is going around, and we, talk about the principle behind that. It is a sacred term from Lakota culture, which I've been, had the great gift to be, um, hmm, great gift to learn, and the privilege of learning with, some very talented healers. We're learning that there's a lot more than meets the eye, and the veils are being lifted, thankfully, so that we can connect with one another in relationship, sacred relationship in this new era. The
Mhm.
importance of what we're doing right here is not to be understated. It's everything. It's gold for the new era.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you for what you're doing, spreading rainbows and gold and sunshine all over the
Yeah.
planet. And thank you for allowing us and myself to be a part of this very pristine, uh, intentional union with the divine that you are creating for us.
Yeah. And I know that you have been doing this for a very long time. So of course, you had to be a part of this. And
Mm,
you were talking earlier about, the importance of building a relationship with the divine, with our higher selves. And, I've been through shamanic apprenticeship and, a lot of deep initiatory processes. And both the simple and complex answer, I think, of how do we build these relationships is just practice. You got to
yeah,
do it.
totally. It is, everybody. It's so easy. It is literally as simple as the breath. In
Mhm.
that moment, you're mirroring what I'm doing. Um, because that's what empaths do. So you can feel when I do that, when I choose to remember to ask the divine to come down through my channel and into my heart through breath. So easy, right? Simple. 10 moments of those during the day, in my view, is worth more than a 20-minute meditation, because it's multiple times where we're training our brains, our consciousness, our awareness to remember that help is always there in the moment. It's not Life is not meant to be lived as a 20-minute meditation at the end of the day. No, that's fine if that's the way that your life is structured, fine. Wonderful. If it works for you, fantastic. Nothing wrong with it at all. And 10 moments during the day helps us remember that in the moment is where it's at, not moving our relationship with the divine to a later time or to a structured linear time. The divine doesn't work that way, as you alluded to. We have a 3D self, human self, and we have a 5D self. And the 5D self says, there's a better way to do this, and that is to connect with me, divine, your own soul, multiple times throughout the day. And if you do, what's going to happen? I'm going to bring you better outcomes in your life. I'm going to bring you more health. I'm going to bring you the things that you need, all the things that you need. And here's the kicker, often a lot more of what we want as well.
And what I hear in that kind of practice of, those 10 moments throughout the day is it is a practice, and it's also, I don't want to say that I struggle with it, but it's linking those moments together to cultivate a perpetual state of
Yes.
connected. And that's where I still get tripped up, right? I can, because somebody cuts you off in traffic, right?
Right.
Or some, like the other day I got a letter, I had a fraud case with my credit card and they asked me to submit stuff and I submitted it. And then I get a letter in the mail that says, we have not received your stuff. And so we've closed your case and we're not, and I'm like, I sent you this stuff, And so there's always those moments that'll take us out
Yes.
and give us the opportunity to
Ding, ding,
choose
ding, ding, ding,
in
ding, ding.
every moment.
Money in the bank, everybody. What Stephanie is saying is everything. Those moments where we get stressed, the divine is asking us to remember. So repeat this affirmation out loud. You and I, Stephanie, we'll say it together. I want to remember. Let's say it together. Take a breath. I
I
want to remember. That phrase carries so much energy. If you could see what happens when we say that phrase, what we are really saying is, I'm asking you, divine, to open my channel, connect with the wisdom, the guidance of my own soul that has lived multiple hundreds, maybe even hundreds of thousands of lifetimes. That wisdom, that knowledge, that energy, bring it into my current reality structure and allow me to know, feel, perceive, sense the truth so that I can take that energy and spread it out to others on the planet so that the earth can be healed, my relationships can be healed, and the earth itself can be saved.
Mhm.
There's a lot in that one phrase. I
Yes.
want to remember the truth of who I really am.
Yeah. And I think it opens an intention because what I've also learned is sometimes it's really hard to connect to a concept. So I'm going to use gratitude as an example that, when I've worked with different clients, let's say on doing cord cutting, maybe with an ex-spouse or something like that, where I invite them to cultivate as much gratitude as they can for that person in their life, even if they're angry, even if they felt wronged, and if they can't cultivate it on the 3D level, can they go up to a soul level and say, at least thank you for playing this role for me, so that even if you can just access 1% of gratitude, it makes all of the rest of the work more potent. And so what I hear in the I want to remember is maybe somebody wants to remember, but to just say, I remember may feel like too much of a stretch. It may feel like I can't get there. I can't relate to that. But to say, I want to remember
Yes.
opens the door to the intention.
And yes, it does. And what you just said um, was really important. And I want to highlight what you suggested and invited us into was to remember that we all have this thing called a higher self, a soul that is on the other side, that is way more powerful than our limited egoic consciousness, one of the four parts of the mental body that we talk about in our work at Empath Connection. Um, that we remember, and you suggested that we remember to call on the higher self of whoever we are having issues with, whether it's our partner, our children, our parents, a coworker, whoever. If someone is frustrating us, even if it's your bill uh, situation, the people involved with that, the credit card or whatever, whoever it is, I ask for my higher self, ding, 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 to connect with the energy, wisdom, the remembrance of the other person's higher self, ding, 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 ding. They link up in the spirit world. And what do? They connect in the energy of healing, forgiveness, understanding, correction, if you will, uh, of the misguided thinking or projections of our limited egoic consciousness onto someone. Oh, that person's a jerk, this type of a thing. They link up, and guess what happens? We feel it in our heart. The result of that request is our heart chakra opens like a flower and unfolds. And when our heart chakra is open, life is amazing. Life
Yes.
is fun. Life feels good, all because you asked them, spirit, yourself, to do the work for you and
Yes.
recognize we don't have to do the work really, other than just ask. Yeah, raise the roof.
And I can absolutely attest to that because that letter I mentioned really pissed me off.
Uh-huh.
So I waited until the next day and I sat in front of my altar and I got myself right. I prayed, I connected to spirit, I put myself back into a state of flow, and then I called the bank, and she said, oh, so we got your fax on this date, but the letter that you got, we sent out and they just crossed in the mail. So your case is open. We're looking at it. And I'm like, there you go. I didn't have to fight. It
No,
was it was handled.
it was handled. One of the things that I saw when I left my body in 2014, I went into the spirit world, and it wasn't it was just as powerful as a near-death experience. I didn't physically die, but what I saw shocked me almost to the degree that it was traumatic. It was so much all at once. I saw how everything was orchestrated on our behalf. And my egoic mind, as it's designed to do, is uh, had difficulty accepting so much all at once. But I can say right now, with the benefit of time and understanding and more time spent with the divine, every single moment of our life is orchestrated. Every single moment. There is not one moment that is not orchestrated on our behalf, especially if we ask. So the more that we remember to ask for help, as we're talking about higher self to higher self, the more doors are open. Literally, we're just puppets, everybody. We are just puppets. We're acting out this dream that we call life, and we're actors in a dream. And who is the dreamer? We are part of the dreamer, but the true dreamer is those in the spirit world, or the one, what we know as source, that is doing everything on our behalf and wants us to succeed, wants us to create and dream things that we want to create into existence, is our biggest cheerleader, as long as we don't bring in the vibration of protest, resistance, or judgment. Protest, and this is a big one for empaths and light holders. Why must there be war? Why must there be murder? This kind of whiny vibration, when we say it with that way, like, oh God, why do I have to be here on Earth? Even that question, that's a big one. I used to think that all the time. And I don't think there's an empath alive who has not thought that at one time or another, right? Because we know the spirit world, we know it. We know it like the back of our hands, because that's who we are. So intuitively in our bones, we know the spirit world is good. And we know that that is the vibration that is meant that we're here to create on earth. But when we resist what is in any moment, whether it's getting a bill in the mail slapped with a $10,000 bill, hopefully that doesn't happen. We're not saying that with intention. But if it does, if we resist that, if we protest it, or if we protest against, the wars that are happening globally, then that is an obstacle that gets in the way of the divine doing its work to actually correct that and heal it.
There's a quote, and I don't remember who said it, but it was, what if we lived in a world where we were for everything and against nothing? It makes all the difference, that perspective.
Everything. It's why I have a career. It's why I have an income. It's why I love doing what I do. It's why I love having conversations, real, deep, true conversations like this that you are so um, amazing to facilitate, is because that is really where it's at. That's the new currency of this new age that we're in. It's not Bitcoin.
That's for sure. Well, and I want to bring up something that I know is important to you, but we just haven't said the words out loud together yet. And that is, it takes an act of trust to ask for help,
Yes.
especially because so many of us have the experience of not getting our needs met by the ones in our lives who were there, who were supposed to have our best interest at heart, who were supposed to be making decisions that were good for us, to care for us. Of course, they were doing the best they knew how, but it's still, you know, we still internalized wounding and fears and traumas that, I know for me, I became overly independent. And I had kind of an amazing epiphany, a healing a couple of weeks ago of, instead of saying, look how much I can do by myself, what if I said, look how much I can do with help?
Hmm. Yes. And thank you for introducing that to those who have been wounded, who are dealing with the wounding right now as we speak.
Mm.
It There is nothing wrong with judgment. Isn't this ironic? There's nothing wrong with protest. There's nothing wrong with resistance. In fact, that's what we signed up to experience. So if you are one of those people who Stephanie is mentioning, who at any given point, we all must deal with what it feels like to be judged, what it feels like to be wounded. And what we're learning is not to project back the same energy to our perpetrators, whoever they may be, whether it's collective or individual. We're learning not to do this, to fight back, uh, turn the other cheek. It's a well-known phrase from a religious text. Life is not about religion, although that is one of the moments where religion got it right, is that we are meant to turn the other cheek, look away from the darkness, call in the light, and use that. And that's what so many of us, and I know there are many, many, many watching who are engaged in that process right now. And bravo, bravo. It takes courage, it takes bravery, it takes tremendous resilience and strength to go through trauma in wounding and to learn to forgive
Yes. And to trust.
and to trust.
To trust.
Yes,
That's
trust.
so I know that you have a meditation on deck to connect with our higher selves. So I would love to turn the reins over to you for a few minutes and have you take us through that.
Yes, everyone, become aware of your feet against the ground. Invite you to close your eyes. Place your right hand on your heart and your left hand on your belly and say, welcome, present moment.
Mm.
I am arriving here now at my true essence, and I want to remember. Invite you to imagine a sphere of light beneath your feet. This is part of your own soul, your divinity. And breathe in a slow, intentional inhalation of divinity that you are from Mother Earth, so that the connection can be ignited. Exhale all that you do not need and give it over to the divine, who willingly takes it from you and us. An additional breath from Mother Earth. This time, allow the energy to move up into your heart, opening the portal of your heart. And if there is any tension there, ask your heart to relax. It can be open. It is safe to be open in this moment. This time, exhale gratitude back to Mother Earth for all that she does. Slow 7-second exhalation and making the sphere of light beneath your feet bigger and bigger and bigger as we sink deeper and receive the energy of our souls. Becoming aware now of the energy to your left, feeling the temperature against your skin, the sounds to your left. This is the energy of the west, the setting sun energy, the direction that we call on in this moment to release all of our limiting thoughts and beliefs, things that don't serve us. Breathe in the healing energy from the west and then exhale, giving over a limiting belief that you'd like to let go of. I am gifting this to you, West, so that I may not need to carry this in my cells, in my bones, in my structure. And we declare that by asking in this way, it becomes true. Becoming aware of the energy in front of you, the energy of your North Star, your future, to which we are all stepping into, toward sphere of light. Breathe in from that energy and ask to be shown the way. Easily, effortlessly, and gently breathe that into the portal open flower of your divine heart. And exhale gratitude to the North Star, the spirit of the North, for showing you the way, making that sphere of light bigger in front of you, clearer, illuminated with your path. Wopila, gratitude. Become aware of the spirit of light to your right, the spirit of the east, the spirit of the rising sun, the new energy that you and we together are calling in. And breathe in that to the portal of your heart, asking for help on all of the new energy that you're seeking to create. Rising sun, divine masculine is what you are breathing in, and we are breathing in together. And exhaling gratitude, we declare that it is true, that those prayers are being answered. Becoming aware of the energy behind you, the south, your past, the innocence and the essence and potential of yourself as a young child. This is your inner child. It's behind you, it is the south, and it is sacred in a sphere of light just behind your heart. Breathe that into your heart. And exhale gratitude to her or him for helping you remember the sacred responsibility to carry the energy of playfulness, silliness, joy, laughter, glow, radiance, and fun into your life. We've worked the four directions. This is analogous to the cross in Christianity. It's the same thing as the four directions, four chambers of the Sacred Heart. The number four is sacred, and we honor those directions as a totalitarian being that they are right now. Thank you, brothers and sisters in the four directions. Namaste. Amen. So it is. And then staying connected, practicing an awareness right now by staying connected, not moving from the connection, simply opening your eyes when you feel ready, releasing your hands from your heart, and we arrive back again at the current
Mm,
moment.
beautiful. Thank you
Thank you.
so much for that, Michael.
Mm,
Very powerful. And as I think about what you've been talking about, anchoring the soul, anchoring the light, what I what I see in that, or what I feel is important to remind people, is that that energy that we're accessing, that light, that support,
mhm.
is limitless.
Yes.
It's not about, like, when I learned Reiki, one of the things I learned was you're not giving your own energy, right?
No.
As a human being, we only have so much energy, but if you can connect to that endless flow, it's
Yes.
the same concept of that light, is that you don't
Yes.
have to generate it all yourself.
No. We receive, we're learning to receive. Not only do we not have to generate it ourselves, it's impossible to do so. We only can create energy through fifth dimensional nature. And so that is why when we do get intentional about connecting, as we just did, and as you just did, together, we age in reverse. We
Mm,
literally age in reverse. And that is why in this new era, we are seeing and will continue to see people live to be 140. No joke. That is the truth. So thank you for allowing that wisdom to come
mm,
through.
absolutely. And as we get ready to close, I want to make sure that people know about the free gift that you are offering, which is inspirational weekly messages from
Yeah.
spirit. So tell us a little more about that.
Yeah, every Monday messages. I've been doing this for 4 years with Spirit. I simply ask, well, what do the people need to hear? And since we're all servants, we all are operating on the same wavelength, more or less, especially if you're here watching this until the very end, you will. It's not a question of if, you will resonate with these weekly messages that I offer. uh, I'm not a big fan of the word channeling because it means so many different things to different people. It's basically, in my understanding of what the divine is doing through me and through all of us, it's just using our creative power to ask what people need to hear, and then we let it flow. So that is, go to the website, empathconnection.com, or you can just, I believe there going to be a link?
Yes.
Okay,
So
just
you can
click on
find
Stephanie's link.
Michael's, yes, you can find Michael's free gift on his speaker page on the Telesummit website.
Fabulous.
Yes.
Yes. Thank
So
you for offering that.
absolutely. So closing thoughts that you want people to know.
Just remember, ask to remember, and it all begins and ends there.
Mm,
Yes.
beautiful. Michael, I'm so grateful that you said yes. Thank you
Mm.
for this conversation. I so appreciate your wisdom.
Oh, thank you very much.